just on a campus at UEA where I went to university about 10 years ago. Seems a long time ago. There's the mound up there, UEA campus. Quite interesting, kind of little band of oak trees along here. Some bramble fringing them. Loads of deer here, so you come out here at dusk or at dawn and you'll see deer knocking around. Some of them are quite bold these days, so you'll see them during the day down by UEA Broad down there. But anyway, just looking at some natural regeneration. So as far as I can remember, this grassy area between the Broad and the shelter belt was kind of mown to death during the summer when I was here at university. And now it looks like it's not mown at all, which is nice. So I assumed it was cut just in late summer and treated as a hay meadow, but going by the anthills and the odd scattered oak seedling in the sward, it clearly hasn't been cut for a few years at least. Yes, this shelter belt was planted. Not a single oak in there as far as I can tell. So they're not a seed source for the little seedling oaks in this sward. I assume they're coming from over there. It's a nice big oak. So I've seen jays flying from there into this area without any oaks. And I'm assuming what they're doing is hopping down into this tussocky grassland along the edge of this shelter belt and planting the acorns, scatter hoarding, as they call it in ecology. And obviously they don't find them all. They're buried, stashed acorns, so some of them germinate in this tussocky grassland. So here's a nice 2 foot tall oak seedling. I assume none of these have actually been planted. Brilliant vole habitat. It's another oak seedling. What's quite striking about this sward is just the complete lack of herbaceous flowering plants. There's a few of those speedwells of some sort down there. Some sort of stitchwort is that? Lesser stitchwort or something? I'm no good at plants, as you can tell. There's a seedling pheasant. I assume he's visible on the video. Lots of anthills. But yeah, no real flowering plant community here. So I assume the origins of this is kind of improved grassland sward, mown to death as amenity grassland, and then about 6 or 7 years ago, presumably, they changed the mowing regime of oak seedling. So although the woody species, or at least oak, is managing to spread into this area, flowering plants aren't. Obviously a few are, but there's just no invertebrates apart from some very early instar grasshoppers hopping around. But there's no kind of pollen or nectar resources here really, bit of wild carrot. So, another oak. So in a few years' time this will look structurally really good for something like redback shrike, but as far as invertebrate biomass, it just isn't going to work for them. So you don't need to plant woody species clearly, but the herbaceous layer, there are just no flowering plants. So I would suggest inoculating this kind of site with flowering plants, common species, just to speed up the kind of restoration of bioabundance of invertebrates in particular. I'm not a fan at all of planting, or especially of woody trees and shrubs, but in this kind of context I really think we need to start thinking about inoculating with the herbaceous layer. It's not even clover in here. Red clover would be great for some of the bumblebees, but it's devoid of that. There's white clover on the paths. So a few clovers, a few speedwells, buttercups, but wild carrot, but very little else. Ragwort, that'll be flowering soon, so that's good. Yeah, spread green hay from a species-rich grassland area to inoculate it with seeds, and even potentially, you know, get some of the UEA students and local schools to grow locally collected, I don't know, black knapweed or something, grow them on as little plugs to plant out. That way you'd at least get the nectar and pollen resources built up more quickly and overcome the kind of dispersal limitation and establishment limitation problems that many herbaceous open habitat species suffer from. Lots of moles, so plenty of kind of bare ground regeneration sort of niches. So you can almost sprinkle seeds on some of these bare mole hill areas, and as they collapse, stuff will germinate in them. So yeah, lots of potential here to just speed up the reassembly of biodiversity, given that it's now managed pretty favourably for wildlife. Just give it a helping hand. Good for small mammals. I'm sure there are your barn owl hunting here. Crepuscular sort of barn owls feeding at dusk and dawn. I've seen them feeding on the water meadows or water swampy tall fen over there. It's not meadow at all. Actually just found the only scabious I've seen in this whole regenerating area. Some more oak seedlings. So the density of oak seedlings is a lot higher in this little kind of glade area between the shelter belt of trees. So I assume the old jays come down here and just poking the acorns into this sward. Lots of little oak seedlings. As I said previously, loads of deer here, and they're certainly not preventing oaks and a high density of oaks from popping up. No sign of any tree tubes. That's nice to see. There's quite a lot of thistle actually, and that'll be flowering soon. So that'll be superb for pollinators.